6 o'clock. We all stand for the flag salute and we'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad I didn't untuck my shirt there like I was going to. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer.
Good to see you.
You as well. These Zoom commission meetings are interesting, aren't they?
No.
No, they're not. So welcome, everybody. I had been speaking with the EDC on some things, and I asked if they could just give us an update. So if you don't mind, we'll go through the consent agenda items, and then I'll let Jennifer jump on so she doesn't have to sit through the rest of the meeting, and then we go through the rest of our meeting. So we need a motion to approve the regular minutes, May 5th, 2020, and approval of the special meeting minutes of May 15th, 2020. If everybody's had a chance to read them and review them.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved. So Jennifer,
Do you want to do action items or just the minutes?
why don't we do the action items? They should be quick. Approval of action items: A, payment of general fund vouchers for $18,278.50. B, payment of payroll vouchers in the amount of $16,569.50. And C, payment of the water fund vouchers for $64.26.
I move to accept action items A, B, and C.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Jennifer, if you're ready to go, that would be wonderful.
I am happy to go. I do have to apologize. That was my dog that barked, and for some reason he has decided he's going to start doing that right now. So hopefully he'll stay quiet for the whole time.
My dog's in the room too.
Okay. We'll blame it all on Scott's dog.
Yeah, my dog's chasing rabbits through the windows. So.
Well, when Commissioner Jackson reached out, he just asked for an update. So I'm going to give you kind of a broad look at what we've been doing up until this point. Please feel free to ask any questions. I'm happy to give you as much detail as I have and share with you guys. You guys have been great partners helping us get the information out to our different communities. The support you've shown, it's been excellent. So I'll start with this COVID impact has been a little bit crazy. Our number one thing that we've focused on at the EDC once we met with our board was really about business retention, focusing on our current businesses and the support and programs that they might need in order to be able to move forward. So we've partnered and worked with Commerce to provide the Working Washington grant. That is $10 million that Commerce provided for the entire state. For Mason County specifically, it was about $170,000, up to $10,000 grant for those businesses. So we opened up the process. We had over 200 applicants that had to be narrowed down to, Commerce wanted to be able to vet a minimum of 33. So at a local level, we narrowed it down, sent in our recommendations from across the county. We had very good turnout from as far as Tahuya to Lilliwap. We had some from Matlock as well. So we ran the gamut on businesses that aren't in our main areas. We just received the awards for that. We have 17 awards. 10 of those are in the Belfair, Allyn, Great View area. 2 are in Tahuya. The announcement for those winners will be coming out when Commerce is ready to release the list as a whole. So I will definitely send that to you guys so that you'll have that information. That is not the only grant that we're working on. We are working on 2 Cdbg community development block grants that the county has reallocated funding that was set for micro enterprise. They have moved that to grants, both of those, one $50,000 into one grant pot and $85,000 into another grant pot. Those will be running. Ours will start here this week, and the other pot of money will open for help to fill out the applications will open next week. So you'll start to see those programs roll out. We are also working with the county on the CARES Act funding that they have been designated, that 3.8 million that is specific to county functions. That has to be, it is a reimbursable 3.8 million. So it has to have been spent in COVID related projects, activities, things like that, that the county can spend that money on and then be reimbursed from Commerce for. So we're working with them on how to spend that 3.8 million. So if you have projects that are specific to COVID related, it's a bit of a big kind of vague definition. There's quite a bit that can go into it. There's quite a bit that can't go into it. So it can't be a project that you already have on your budget sheets, but it can be something that was necessitated by COVID, or you saw the need arise, something that you've had to do to support your citizens or your businesses in the area. We're also working still within the CARES Act on the PPE and the EIDL loans. We still have money in PPE, so we are still working with businesses that thought that they would be able to hold out and start moving forward. But now that we've got the reopening plan and people can kind of see that it's going to be months for some of those businesses before they can get fully operational again, they are now taking advantage of some of those programs. So those that held out are now moving forward through it. Our focus really has been on helping those businesses with, we've kind of blanketed it, whatever you need. If it is help filling out your unemployment forms, getting you to the right places, working with Small Business Administration on your loan application or the forgivable part of that loan application, even to now that we're moving into those reopening phases, how can we help those businesses figure out what those criteria are, what their timelines look like, what kind of guidelines they need to have internally to be able to even start thinking about moving through those reopening criteria. We have launched a shop local program to support that. As we get more and more information about the different businesses that are on the cusp of shutting down or that have already closed their doors due to the impacts that COVID has had on them, we're seeing more and more citizens wanting to support, but not knowing how, especially if we're told to stay home. It's hard to support those retailers that are going to go out of business because you can't go and support those retailers that are going out of business. So figuring out different ways to help the business either launch their e-commerce site, really working with them to figure out how to get their inventory to a place that they can purchase. Even our restaurants don't have, quite a few of them don't have even a listed menu online. So helping the different businesses figure out where they feel comfortable as they're opening. If a restaurant doesn't feel comfortable opening up their dining area, or it's too small, if they open their dining area and that percentage that they can have in the dining area is one table, is it even worth it to open the dining area? Could curbside be kind of bolstered? So really kind of working with the different businesses on their different options. The other focus that we've had with business retention very specifically is manufacturers that want to start or have started working through that process to retrofit or kind of disengage from what it is that they're normally manufacturing to how can we manufacture PPE. They currently, personal protection equipment. They currently already have some of the ability to do it. How can they either become part of that supply chain and add a product to a bigger manufacturer that has switched over, or how are they able to do it internally completely? We're looking at most of that focus is on the mask production. It's the easiest one to get into, and it's probably the one we're going to burn through the most, with our businesses requiring masks to get up and running. So we're seeing, especially with the construction and different manufacturing position or manufacturing businesses, really seeing the number of masks and PPE that they burn through really kind of helps us figure out how we can help support that. There are already backups. There are already quite a few suppliers that can't get the numbers that are going to be needed for those businesses as they get up and running. So really kind of helping them log into a supply chain that they've never had to attach to before. So that's been where most of our work has happened. We are still working on 5 recruitment projects. So we have 2 hotel developers that are looking at our area. As soon as they can travel, we'll be doing site visits to our area. They're very serious about moving forward. I think COVID has kind of pushed them forward. In my own personal opinion, I think they thought, oh, look at this, land is going to be cheaper because now everybody wants to figure out how to make that work. So we also have 3 manufacturers that are looking at our area, 2 of which are cited specifically in the Belfair area and sites that are located there. So really taking our regular workload and adding additional COVID response has been unique. And I'm very thankful that Karin is on my team, because man, does she have a lot of energy. She is ready to just go, go, go. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer it. The only other number that I can think of to really kind of put things into perspective is the state released their unemployment number for April. April's kind of the first real impact number. March, since we split it right down the middle, normal to COVID, isn't a really good indicator, but we have April unemployment numbers now. The state came in at 14.6. We are at 16.1. So Mason County looking not as bad as our neighbors. I'm looking through my computer because we are in the Pac-5 region, and just to give you kind of a positioning of where we sit, if you're ranking US or Washington counties, we are the 11th. We rank 11th. Lewis, which is in our region, has a greater percentage than us. Grays Harbor was hit at 19.4. They are second only to Snohomish, which is at a 20.2 unemployment rate. If you're looking at our region as a whole, and I should be able to pull up Kitsap numbers if you guys are interested, and send those to you as well, so it gives you a comparison as they start to open as well. But we've lost in our region probably close to 13,000 jobs. So looking at that impact and really kind of trying to assess where those jobs are going to come back. Some of it is just temporary, and some of it is we're going to have to absorb those unemployment losses into new businesses that either spring up from this that we've recruited, or expansion projects that we're working with businesses to move forward. So there is still growth that's happening. Projects that were kind of a go are in a holding pattern right now, and it's just a waiting time for those to get moving. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, a big thank you to you guys for pushing out the information as we send it, helping us. There are just two of us, so it's hard to reach all the corners. So our partnerships have been vital right now, and being able to get information out to as many people as we can reach has been the best thing.
That's great. Thank you.
Jennifer, I was just wondering if there's been any discussion about the massive unemployment fraud, and I've read some things about how they've recovered some of the money, but is there anything official coming down that talks about unemployment? Are they holding up payments or anything like that?
And I can send you the sheet that I got from ESD. It's got some pretty good information on it. So what they're estimating is about 10% of all claims that have come in are fraudulent claims. So they have seen that started about 3 weeks ago is when you started to really see the news that came out about that. Between then and now, they have implemented a delay in payouts to benefits. So it is a up to 2-day delay. It's not exorbitant amount of time. It still is a bit of a hassle as they verify where they're sending the money, who they're talking with. And they've seen a dramatic decrease. Just to give you a little bit of comparison, week 17 is when this kind of all happened. And for our region, we had close to 7,000 initial claims. That sits right about where the declining numbers should sit. Week 18, it bumped up to 9,500. Week 19, these were all additional fraudulent claims. So week 19 stayed at pretty much that 10,000 range. And this last week's numbers that just came out were at 4,000. So you're seeing a really big drop when they've implemented those kind of additional processes to make sure that the monies are getting to where they are. And they have recovered, I don't have it in front of me, but they have definitely recovered funding. There's even some, Susie, who's I forget her last name, but she is the commissioner for ESD that is doing all of the announcements. She told a story about how they're even having the fraudulent claims. Some of them haven't changed the delivery address for the paper payments. They haven't figured out how to do that if they're already in the system. So they've had people that haven't filed a claim, but that have gotten the check that the fraud instigator has done, and they have returned that funding. So even on that level, they're seeing the employees being very honest about whether or not this is theirs, not cashing checks if they didn't move forward with those claims. So I can get you the document from ESD. It's got a lot more detail. If you guys are interested, I can definitely send that out to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They're thinking about going back and redoing week 17 and 18 numbers, minusing out those fraudulent claims as well. So to get a better idea of the impact.
Thank you, Jennifer. I talked to Karen a little bit today. One of my concerns is Stretch Island fruit, and I know there's things that can't be said, but I believe there's a plan. If you could just, I guess not specifics, but reassure us there's a plan. So
on reutilizing that building or maintaining Stretch Island in the
Well, from what I hear, Stretch Island is not going to, they're moving out. So, but just reutilizing that facility and that land into something else. So,
Mhm. Um, as far as I know, it is not publicly released that Stretch Island is moving bases to Chicago. So that processing and all of those positions are going to go away. The nice part is that that is a very desirable size of building currently. So we do have plans to, as soon as we get the approval from the company, move forward with the marketing of it, pushing it out. We've got quite a few in the last year of our 26 requests for proposals, probably 11 of those, that building fit the criteria for it. So I think there's quite a bit of interest in buildings of that size. It is already a manufacturing and distribution facility. So those are definitely bonuses for it. The one thing that we need to look at how to mitigate is its location and what kind of business is going to go into that isn't so heavily reliant on transportation location, as it's one kind of like how it started, a manufacturer that is very interested in the area and not necessarily on the gas price. And I do think that the bypass, as it continues to move forward, definitely brings more engagement and looking at our different buildings that are available. But it definitely helps that it is a good size.
Good to know. That's great.
yeah, if there's anything we can do as a port to whether recruit or retain, we'd love to partner with you on that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. And I will keep a note that once we hear from the business and that they're ready to move forward, I will let you guys know as well.
Appreciate it.
Is the plan to sell that building or to rent it? Do the owners want to or rent it?
I would say so. Most of the discussions have been their entire process facilities are nowhere in Washington. So keeping one building here for the size that it isn't feasible. So I would say that they're going to move forward with selling it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any more questions for Jennifer? And I can't thank you enough for jumping on here.
Yeah,
Happy
great.
to do it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a wonderful evening unless you want to stick around for another Zoom meeting today. So
Don't do it.
I'm out. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
all right, thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Jennifer.
All right, commissioners report. We'll just go clockwise. Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, besides the two meetings for the port and one EC meeting, it was all via one came in meeting and two Zoom meetings for me. Yeah, pretty much Jennifer gave the good update on what's going on there. I can't say enough for those two, how much work they've been doing. You guys are getting the same emails as me, but they're generating, 10 to 15 emails a week and just good information for business owners that we can share with people in our districts and help them out. I think it's nice to see that the restaurants are opening back up. I have heard a little bit about some trouble with getting their employees to come back to work because from what I understand, they're making more on unemployment than they do at work. So they offer them their jobs back and they decide that they want to stay home. I do see that Burger Claim is advertising for some employees. I heard that Casey's is having a tough time because some of their employees aren't coming back to work. So there's a new dilemma for people that are now opening back up. Heidi's going back to work tomorrow. She's got 12-hour days in Kitsap County ahead of her. So, and some pretty strict rules too. So yeah, it's good to see the economy starting to open back up, but I think there's still a bumpy road ahead. And hopefully, I don't know how it's going to work with unemployment, but at some point, people got to go back to work.
All right, Commissioner, except for you?
Well, that's it for me.
Yeah, all right. I thought you said except for me. I don't have to go back to work.
Yeah.
Commissioner Scott?
Well, it's pretty slow for me too. The two meetings, on the 5th and the 18th. I did show up at the lowering of the Oyster House. They raised it to start working on it. And then the Nickel Brothers came. That was on the 22nd. Dan Orchard took pictures for us and also videos. So he put them in Dropbox, and he did forward that to me. His son is a professional photographer, so he has a lot of Dropbox, capacity. I did forward it to Larry, but Dropbox apparently isn't very secure. So, but we have lots of pictures. I wasn't able to get there in time, but at least Dan was there like at 7:30 or something like that when they started. So I want a big thanks to Dan. And then also I missed the PRTPO on the 21st, which was a Zoom meeting, and they were ranking the grants. There were 5 of them. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. TAP grants, I think. And I just want to keep that always up front. If eventually, I know that the port could apply and qualify for some of those. Obviously, we missed those, but Shelton got one of them. They were a lower ranking, but Shelton was one of the top 5. So there we go. That's about it for me.
Okay, I attended the general and the special meeting, and then I attended the Memorial Day celebration or remembrance at the port, and like to thank Larry. Everybody did a very nice job, and Richard Bell putting things on. It was well done. And then the other thing I did is I called Fish and Wildlife to expedite some HPAs, hydraulic permit, for us to do, to have a 3-year maintenance or 5-year maintenance on all of our dock facilities. So I'm working with Chris Walbringing and Allison Cook to get those things done. They said they'll just get them done, get them through. So I noticed that our pier at Port of Allyn, we're missing some cross beams or cross boards. Don't know where they went, probably at the storms, but those probably need to replace. But we have to have those maintenance HPAs, and Chris and Allison was dealing with the death in her family. So she said she would get back to me this week, and we'll get those things done. They'll last, like I said, for 3 to 5 years. I think we could do the 5-year. And so if we ever have routine maintenance or emergency maintenance, we don't have to worry about getting an HPA done. So, and then the other thing I did was today I went to the reopening of Blondie's restaurant, which is neighbors. And, it was very nice to see, Scott, as all their employees want to come back to work. And they were very thankful. And Blondie's looks, I got to pat them on the back. They did an amazing job. It looks like a brand new restaurant in there. So it was good. I took a couple of our board of directors and office staff, and we just went and had lunch and said thank you to our neighbors. They've done a great job. So, and that is it. So we'll move to security officers report.
And I have that, and I'll just read what Travis said. May 23rd, upon arrival at the North Shore launch ramp location, I experienced a young man leaving the porta potty for public use while using our facility. This person then proceeded to exit the facility westbound on North Shore Road, walking directly on the bordering property to the west that is separated by the wooden fence from the launch facility. There were several people having a gathering there, and it appears they were freely using our bathroom facility rather than paying for their own. May 25th, upon arrival at the Allyn Waterfront Park location, I experienced a young man wandering around the playground equipment. I promptly questioned him as to his reason for doing so at such a late hour. He replied that his girlfriend had lost her cell phone and they were looking for it. Offered to call it with mine and they welcomed the help. On the second attempt to call, someone answered and they realized that they had left it at their previous location before coming to the park. They thanked me and promptly left the park to retrieve it. May 30th, I received a call for Don O'Keefe in maintenance about the neighbor's report of an intoxicated driver crashing into the temporary fencing around the Oyster House construction area. The neighbor was, excuse me, the neighbor was able to get a license plate, Washington number C78049L, of the black Nissan Frontier truck. I then proceeded to contact Mason County Sheriff to report the request. Case information on Port of Allyn's behalf. I was told to wait for a call back from a deputy that was on the scene of the crashed vehicle in question. It overturned off State Route 3, not very far from the Allyn waterfront facility. I received a call from Mason County deputy regarding the previously mentioned incident. This is the next morning. He relayed to me the Mason County Sheriff case number 20-09340 and told me State Patrol is lead on the case. We can expect contact from them soon with information about the individual in question, including insurance company information or lack thereof. If I don't receive a call with further information on Monday, the deputy said I could get further information through Mason County with the case number he provided. Later that day, received a follow-up call from Mason County Sheriff's deputy that he was still waiting for an email from State Patrol to report the incident. When asked about pictures, he said he took many before Don made repairs for documentation. Deputy said more information would be forthcoming. And then yesterday, received a follow-up call from Mason County Sheriff's deputy about the vehicle damage from the previous day. The police report is now available with the Records Department. Contact person is Angel at the Records Department, reachable at a phone number that doesn't work, because I called it today. He also informed me that I would receive a text photo of the driver's insurance card and that damaged our fencing. Text never arrived to me, and all calls were from a restricted number, preventing any callbacks to inquire why it wasn't sent. So that was what happened over the weekend. Kind of a funny aside to that. Don said that he witnessed the person in question had asked the sheriff's deputy before they took him away if he could smoke a joint before he went to jail. So I don't know what to say about that. And that's Travis's report.
Hey, Larry has a fish behind his head that keeps poking out. I don't see it now.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. You want to move into Executive Director's report?
Sure. Financial issues. Shrimp season is the single largest, most productive days in our boat ramps and marinas, and we finally have both the decision and dates from Fish and Wildlife. Shrimping will be open in Hood Canal from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on June 11th, 15th, 26th, 28th, and July 15th and 28th. This is very good news for us.
Yes.
Grant issues. As you know, we've been awarded 2 Department of Commerce grants for the Oyster House. One is for $218,000 for the removal of the launch ramp, design and construction of the platform the Oyster House building will sit on. The other is a $10,000 Department of Commerce grant we applied for in the supplemental budget. This is to prepare the parking lot for the development of the Oyster House platform. The one monkey wrench in all of this is our grant manager. It was different from the one we had for the Marina project, and she is our 3rd one since being awarded this grant. We have the same grant manager for both of these, the Oyster House and the parking lot, so at least we don't have to educate 2 different people on both projects. I spoke to her at some length via Zoom last Tuesday because I wanted to turn in expense reimbursements for the geotech report and the engineering, but I can't because we haven't yet received the final contract paperwork for either grant. I've asked for this for several times in the time since we were awarded the main grant last year. Unfortunately, she says she is buried in work and managing 79 grants, so she isn't sure when she can get around to this. She said she was just given our project a couple of weeks ago, so she has some work to do learning about the project and her time is limited. She only works 4 days a week. I told her we were working against the fish window for removal of launch ramp and the test boring, and our main concern is getting the final contract to us to sign in time to finish the engineering work so we can apply for the Army Corps permit and get that processed in time to do the work during the fish window. She said she'd try to prioritize it, but she can't promise anything. I did ask the lobbyists if they could help with this and get a fire lit under someone to move that forward. Brianna said she'll work with Representative Griffey's office and see what she can do. Meanwhile, we can pay for the geotech report and will eventually get reimbursed. We do have money to pay for it, and if necessary, we can take money out of the water fund as a reimbursement to the general fund if we need to. That would be my recommendation if we begin to run short of general fund money at some point later in the year. We just need to move forward right now. The $4,500 down payment for the geotech report and test borings was in the vouchers you approved tonight. Endurus. I've reached out to Clear Risk Solutions, Endurus's largest competitor, for a quote to replace Endurance. Excuse me. After working with their underwriters, they decided that covering our marine operations wasn't something they were comfortable with. While they cover a number of other ports, cities, and counties, they primarily operate in Eastern Washington. I sent Endurus a required opt-out letter, so we're not bound to them for the automatic renewal. I'm going to explore some other options, but it looks like we may be stuck with Endurus, like it or not. I spoke with them last week, and they said that we can expect about a 20% increase for 2020-2021, which will have us paying an estimated premium somewhere between $24,000 to $25,000. That includes the structure on the Ogren property, which should reduce it slightly, but it doesn't include Sweetwater Park. Also asked them if we are covered for loss of income from our facilities due to COVID-19. They answered possibly so I opened a claim. We received a letter from their reinsurer, Allyn, that basically said we aren't covered. However, when I mentioned that letter to Endurus, they were surprised and puzzled. Claimed they did not request that letter and that our claim is still open and viable. So we'll see what happens. Electrical issue. We tracked down the problem and it'll require some additional ground fault circuit interrupter equipment be added that wasn't part of the original engineering. Well, all the engineering is National Electric Code compliant and the work was done according to the engineered plans and code. In practicality, ground fault circuit interrupting equipment could have been factored into the original plans, but wasn't because of cost. Talked to the engineer. He said what he did was value engineered this. In other words, did it the cheapest way. The main breaker is the primary ground fault interrupter rather than using individual ground fault circuits for each pedestal. So at this point, Georgia Electric gave us a bid on replacing the panel and installing the needed ground fault equipment. Since I haven't closed out the grant for this yet, I also asked our grant manager if it's covered and she approved it. We're just waiting on the equipment to be delivered. Installation and testing will take about 3 days once we get it. North Shore electrical issue. Our neighbor on the North Shore once again complained about light pollution from the lights at the boat ramp. We met with the PUD to try and accommodate his concerns, and the solution we all agreed on seemed to solve the problem. PUD will set a new pole on the other side of the launch ramp and direct the light toward the ramp, so we'll have the ramp lit up. That was our main concern. PUD also agreed to install some lighting in the parking lot across the street. They're going to set a pole there as well with 2 lights aimed towards the back of the lot. However, I was out there last week and they haven't installed either pole or the lights yet. Public Wi-Fi, the PUD contacted me, asked if they could locate a public Wi-Fi hotspot on their property. Part of the county-wide effort they've undertaken to expand broadband access, which as you know is a WPPA priority. I approved doing it and they did it week before last. There's no cost to us for the equipment or to maintain it. And they added a light that we had to face the building so it lights up the park at night as well. Water system issues. We had a major pipe rupture in the well house last week. Davis Drilling came out here and got it fixed at what I thought was a very reasonable cost, especially considering it was a major emergency repair. We didn't have to shut down service because our tank was about 3/4 full, but we needed to get it fixed immediately. Davis Drilling did a great job. As you're aware, we've requested a 3-year extension on the new well installation deadline. And Ecology has expressed a willingness to grant it if we can address and satisfy the concerns of the Squaxin tribe in relation to the impacts on Sherwood Creek. I previously contacted Doug Peel of Northwest Water about how to proceed with the new well issue, and he responded that we should contact the hydrologist that originally worked on the water right, Robinson Noble, get them involved. However, the consultant that dealt with the tribe's concern is different than Robinson Noble. I'd reached out to them, but in your copy of the report, it says I've not received a response. They did call me back today. I missed the call because I was talking to Ted, and when I called them back, I got voicemail. But that's more than we've had because we haven't had anything so far. But I think it's because of the COVID-19 situation. One possibility is to expand the Allyn Carry water system well. And in talking to Davis Drilling, who drilled that well, they said it may be feasible to expand that rather than drill a new one. I still need to talk with Doug and the consultants, but we may be able to make this work for a lot less money than we originally thought. However, the latest problem we've encountered is that after 3 years of trying to sell us the system, Jeff Carey is suddenly getting cold feet. I suspect this is just a negotiating ploy, and at this point, I don't want to endanger the grant we have for the consolidation, as we have to have all the paperwork turned in by June 14th. Jeff and I are supposed to meet tomorrow and get down to brass tacks on that. Also want to figure out how to document how much water he's actually taking out of the aquifer, as he's only allowed 5,000 gallons a day. I asked Steve Holloway how we can measure that. He said Jeff is legally required to have a meter, so we'll be looking into that this week. Don and I are going up there tomorrow. Electronic signatures. Commissioner Cooper asked me to look into the possibility of using electronic signatures for documents and the cost. Where we would most likely use them is for signing voucher forms and minutes. I checked with Paige at Financial Services at the county, and she said they started accepting them for vouchers when the COVID-19 changes were made, and she didn't see them going backwards on this. One provider is DocuSign, which I know the auto manufacturers have been using in their press loan agreements for a couple of years. The DocuSign plan I think that works for us is one that has 5 users, and it's $25 per month per user, or $1,500 a year. Another alternative is Adobe, which I have personally used here and at Wet Apple for about 10 years. Adobe allows you to create certificate-based signatures and lock the document when you're finished. However, since I bought the program, Adobe's business model has changed, and you have to subscribe to the full Acrobat program and pay a monthly fee. I'm just not sure how much at this point. Either way, according to MRSC, we need a motion to begin using electronic signatures no matter which service we subscribe to. This is on the agenda for possible action tonight. Security issues. As you know, we've been discussing installing high-resolution wireless remote cameras at the park as well as at Canal. Nothing new to report except we expect to have something in the near future. Credit card issue. We have a small issue with our Kitsap Bank credit cards for when we upped your individual credit limit. Originally, they just wanted a copy of the minutes from the meeting where you approved the increase. Now they have a form for each of you to sign. When I meet with you to get the vouchers and minutes signed, I'll have this form as well for you to sign. Parking lot grading. As you know, we have Grand Canyon-sized potholes in the parking lot here in the North Shore. Talked to Ron Griffey. He gave us a price of $1,300 to grade and fill them with new rock as needed. Told him to go ahead, and he's going to try to get it done this week or next. But it's my understanding that he got it done Sunday. WPPA meeting schedules. Next up is the Executive Director Seminar, July 9th and 10th at Alder, Brook, and the Commissioner Seminars, July 21 and 22 in Walla Walla at the Marcus Whitman Hotel. I'm planning on attending the executive director seminar, but will not stay at the hotel to save us some money and drive us every day instead. If for convenience sake I do decide to stay at the hotel, I'll pay for it myself. Old Copier. After months of tussling with Kelly Imaging and their leasing company on getting the old copier picked up, they told us to keep it. They originally wanted us to have it serviced and new toner cartridges installed, which would have cost us about $800. We refused as that wasn't in our contract. They decided it'll cost them more to come get it and dispose of it than it's worth. Still works fine. And the only reason that we got a new one was our lease agreement was up and they never responded to our fee to replace it. Renting out the small office, nothing to report. Totem pole issue, nothing new to report. Old business. Oyster House. As noted earlier in this report, I've included $4,500 invoice from Envirotech and the vouchers. This is needed so we can get the test boring done for the overwater platform piling. The engineers asked about a survey of the site if there's any previous test boring. What we found out is the old launch ram was constructed in 1983 and the well in 1988. However, we looked and can't find drawings for either and suspect that stuff may have been sent down to the state archives when we sent that whole mess of material down there about 3 years ago. Test borings are included in the Envirotech bid, and if we get the survey done, the grant will cover the costs of that. Once the design work is finished and a geotech report is done, we can proceed with the Army Corps permit. Once we have that, we can begin the launch ramp demolition, although because of the fish window, we have to wait till July to start. Fish window runs from July 15th through December 31st. Sweetwater Park. North Mason School District assigned all the required paperwork and it's now in our possession. This means we own the property.
Yay! Finally.
Yeah, get this off my plate. And I sent what Mindy needed to her today because the grant application for this was due to RCO today. And she needed proof that we own the property. Staging area development, not much new to report on this. I did turn in about $6,200 worth of reimbursements and we've been reimbursed for 75% from RCO. And speaking with Kim Sellers, our grant manager, she told me RCO is reducing the match requirement on some grants and told me to write her a letter requesting a reduction. That letter is included in your meeting pack. Also, it appears the Ogrens have moved out early, although it appears someone is still living there. I did send them a certified letter, which they signed for, and reminding them they have to vacate by June 30. Copies in your meeting packet. I've also begun looking for consultants to determine the amount of mitigation we need to do for things like hazardous materials. But like everything else, because of COVID-10, this has been in slow motion. Also, we'll want to go in there and see what is salvageable and saleable before the building is torn down. For example, it's my understanding there's a market for old hardwood flooring, which is house has. I've also been contacted by someone interested in a heat pump unit. Not sure what appliances are there that could either be sold or donated as well as anything else. This has prompted the idea of us maybe having a surplus sale sometime this summer. We have a lot of stuff that could be surplus and maybe raise some money. All Ports meeting, when the next Kitsap All Ports meeting is scheduled for, is still up in the air. Transient Moorage expansion project, other than the electrical issue I reported on early, project is essentially complete. I've submitted for reimbursements for the additional electrical work and the retainage we will owe to Marine Floats. Previously submitted a scope of work amendment form to our grant manager at Commerce to deal with the fire issue, and that was approved. But since we're not going to move forward at this time with that, I'm going to keep the grant open until a final decision is made on how we're going to proceed, if at all. Criminalization of the marina rules. Once we get the cameras in place, we can move forward. Until then, nothing's going to happen. That's my report. So,
Thank you, Larry. And while you were giving your report, I got a email, which I'll forward off to you, from Heidi, saying that she's been doing some serious thinking about our camera situation and she thinks she has a solution, in dealing with a company that I've dealt with before. So especially in light of what happened over this weekend, I think we need to get moving on this as quick as possible. So I'll forward you her email. I'm glad she kept on thinking about us because she knows her business. So
Yeah, she seemed to know what she was doing for sure.
yeah, she was just concerned about what it was going to cost us and what it was going to do for her company. So anyways, I'll forward this off here after the meeting and get moving on that again. So,
Okay. Yeah, we can talk tomorrow. So.
Yep.
Here's the fishy again.
New business items, discussion about using electronic signatures on legal documents.
I told you what I got from DocuSign, and I put the pricing.
There's another program called Authentisign that realtors use quite a bit.
Oh,
I don't know if that one costs. I mean, it doesn't me, but I think my company uses it quite a bit. Just about every realtor I know uses Authentisign.
okay, can you send me some information about it?
Yes, I will. Yep.
Okay, 'cause I'd never heard of them. I just heard of DocuSign and Adobe.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's the same concept with Adobe because it kind of uses Adobe programming behind it too. So, but anyway, yes, I will send you information.
Okay, very good.
I've
I
used
feel-
both. They're just as easy. If that
Yeah.
makes
Pardon?
sense. I said I've used both DocuSign and Authentisign, and they're both just as easy.
Mm-hmm.
My only 2 cents is I'm not, for $1,500 a year, is that worth the 1 or 2 times we have to meet in the parking lot? So
Yeah. And no, I don't think so.
me either. I just thought, I didn't know it was $1,500 a year, so I thought it might be something worth doing to save the time. But I guess these the Zoom meetings will probably, this might be our last or second to last one, depending on what the governor thinks. And yeah, after this meeting and maybe next month, we might be back to signing vouchers at meetings and never even give it a thought. So
Sure.
1,500 is a little bit of money, and since we're not gaining revenue for the last 3 months, I'm not sure it's a wise investment at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, I have to agree as well.
I agree also, but do you mind checking to see how much the Authentisign, Judy?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Authentisign. Yeah, it's Authentisign.
I thought to say, okay. I've used DocuSign a lot, but all righty.
Yeah, I
So-
was surprised that DocuSign was that expensive. I know all the auto manufacturers use it, like for the car loans that I get. And I mean, it's quick and convenient. It's a click of a mouse and you're done. But looking at the pricing, the more you use it, the cheaper it gets.
Sure.
And we're at the bottom end of the pay or of the rate schedule there.
Mhm.
We wouldn't use it. We do documents in minutes. That'd be it.
So we could pen this till next meeting until you get the other prices.
Sure.
And if it's not financially sound, we won't do it. $1,500, I agree with all of you, is a lot of money. So.
Yeah.
So discussion of resolution 413, emergency declaration extension, and we'll need to take action let me pull it up if nobody has it.
Yeah, I sent you copies of it late today. It's
Yeah,
the
I
exact
read it.
same- It's the exact same wording as resolution 412. The only difference is the dates. And but resolution 412 runs out on June 30. Our next meeting isn't until July 6th. So I just set this for July 1 through August 30th or 31st, whatever it is.
Well, I read it and it is the same. And so I would like to make a motion that we accept resolution 413.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, resolution 413 passes. So we'll go to public comments. Jean, welcome. And Diedrich, welcome.
They still there?
Yeah, they're still showing up here, but there's no video for either of them. I'd sent a message to Dedrick asking him if there was anything we needed to do for him, and he said no. So I don't know.
I'm still here.
I don't know. I don't know what Jean's situation is. So, but she's not muted. I know that.
Right. So I guess, is there anything good for the order if there's no public comments?
I
Yeah,
have
no.
a, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna tell Larry, thank you for getting those bins taken out on Highway 3. Those were kind of a eyesore for the port, and thanks for that.
Well, he was all embarrassed and apologized all over himself. He was just like, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. I'll get it taken care of. But if at some point in the future you guys had let him put it back, he'd love it. So, but I thought maybe after the dump opened, he, you know, and Goodwill opened up again, and you know,
There's the fishy again.
Well, I have something for the good of the order. I think we're going to be resuming our North Mason Community Voice meeting on
good.
June 22nd. I think that we still are, because we usually don't have all that many people, but the speaker is still scheduled to be the Department of Licensing. I think I can't remember her exact title, but her name is Carla Weaver. And she will be talking about the license and the enhanced license and the criteria that they need. And matter of fact, since Diedrich is on, I think it's Diedrich, Allyn, you're still there, I hope.
I am, yes, I am.
Good, I'm gonna see if I can get you to come and video that one. So anyway, just to give a heads up, if anybody can make it, that would be great. And I'll get in touch with you, Diedrich. Okay, that's all I have.
I have nothing else. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, everybody have a great night, and thank you very
You
much.
too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go home and check on my sick doggy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.